In 1974, Belgian jazz rock keyboardist Koen De Bruyne released his ambitious solo album, Here Comes the Crazy Man, and from it, the track Pathetic Dreams. Kind of a soundtracky vibe, sort of a spooky, vaguely erotic vibe going on. Three chord patterns so far: C, B flat, E flat, C. I should have introduced him actually as keyboardist and arranger, keyboardist, composer, and arranger, because this is quite an arranged, quite carefully laid out orchestrated piece we got going. Okay, who all are we hearing? Those tinkles, of course, are Koen De Bruyne, and let's see, we got the trumpets. Gerard, Sabbe, and Richard Rousselet. The vocalist isn't mentioned in the credits. I'll look for that. Vocalist Patricia Maessen provides the wordless vocals here. Yeah, this is kind of like evocative of soundtracks from the era. I'm thinking, well, the theme song, for some reason, it's been a while since maybe I shouldn't even mention it. I was thinking the theme to Rosemary's Baby, but bringing it more up to like the time period in question, the kind of like a more kind of like carefully executed, stripped equivalent to the contraction sound. But then again, it's just that kind of francophone vibe, that steamy, smoky, kind of jazz rock, laid back vibe. Yeah, I love that bridge right there with brass just flaring up like that. And the contrast it provides to the verses. Why would dreams be pathetic? The title begs the question. Like, I'm wondering what kind of dreams, what kind of territory these dreams go into. Yeah, it's at times there's kind of like a looseness about this. I mean, it can, because the underlying progression is so simplistic, so it can range from like these flare-ups of brass and like defined vocal melodies and such, but at times you just like strip it down to like maybe the rhythmic component and let, say, like one instrument just kind of run loose over it. And here we're getting some very fluid, elegant runs from the person behind it all. And as your ears are being taken away by the piano runs and fills and such, and that all that ivory swirling around, and your kind of body is maybe slightly being moved along by the drum pattern, appreciate the bass line and its like carefully placed notes. Yeah, the bassist is definitely doing his own thing amidst all this. Once again, I just it amazes me how they came up with these types of like this counterpoint between the rhythm players and the soloists, like back in the. I mean, they could have easily just played, you know, a very simple, straightforward pattern of like bass notes and like 4/4 beats, but instead they just like throw in all these accents in each one of them and. I mean, regardless of whether they're even up high in the mix or frontal. Now we're getting a bit more staccato. Yeah, really staccato bits of brass there. This track has ranged from sort of kind of slightly erotic in places, well, when the woman is singing, but also toward kind of like spine tingly and kind of suspense laden. And so I'm wondering if this dream or sequence of dreams kind of like runs the gamut between those two moods. Like this sequence right here could represent, say, sort of a confusing sequence of nonsense in a dream. Okay, what have our players on here done elsewhere? Let's see, trumpet flugelhorn player Richard Rousselet has 35 credits according to Discogs. He was in Placebo. Great, yeah. And he was on the 1975 Solus Lacus album, and also the Mad Unity album, Funky Tramway. And he played on Mark Moulin's Sam Suffy, so I've probably seen this guy's name around. It hadn't quite registered. And he was in Hulvern for their first album, at least, and the Act Big Band. Oh, this guy's been on a bunch of things that I know. Yeah, yeah. And bassist Juan Desouter was in the JJ Band, a Belgian act that put out three albums between 1968 and 1971. I guess they kind of started out as sort of a beat group and moved sort of into brassy rock territory. I'm not familiar with that band. He too was in Placebo, at least on one of the albums. Yeah, the Belgian jazz rock band Placebo that put out 3 albums between 1971 and 1974. That's where Mark Moulin got his starting point. Well, no, that's the band that Mark Moulin really made a name for himself in. He had been playing as a teenager, I know. But our bassist guy, Juan Desouter, he was on that 1975 album by Doug Lucas, Niara. Yeah, I did a track from that album a few months ago on And the other trumpet player, Gerard Sabbe, or whatever, he was also on the Funky Tramway album by Mad Unity. Yeah, that came out the following year. Also on the Vogue label. Now we're getting a bit more freeform. This must be a real surreal sequence of a dream, which is blurry kaleidoscopic imagery. Yeah, sounds kind of having this blurry kaleidoscopic effect, like the brass kind of billowing in one direction, just and piano just kind of lightly like drizzling and echoing and such. Now some really kind of odd sounds coming in, like just sort of like makeshift studio instrumentation. How are they getting these sounds? Bear in mind, this is a bit before the era where you could just kind of cue up odd little sounds on a sampling keyboard or such. Yeah, this whole sequence could have taken an afternoon. And that rather creative drum patterning that we've been hearing by Jean-Pierre Onraedt, he has seemingly the most credits of all the people involved on here on Discogs. 135 instrumental credits, according to the site, including a whole slew of Belgian, I guess, popular performers, as well as he was on at least one of the Placebo albums, and the yeah, there's a lot of tie-in between this and the Mad Unity album, Funky Tramway. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull that one out again. That's pretty good. That'll be one for the for next year, maybe next year when I do when the hashtag will be 45 years since 1975. Okay, and I guess I may as well, at this point, introduce, share more of the credits of our lead guy, Koen De Bruyne. He released a second album in 1978 on Hans titled In Cluis, and I guess that being the total sum of his recordings as a band leader. But let's see, let's see. He was a prominent studio musician working for several pop artists in his home country, like his brother Chris De Bruyne, as well as artists from abroad like funk band Black Blood, and with Jenko Nilovic, the library musician, in a group called Mad Unity. Yeah, yeah, I remember that Mad Unity record. I thought was kind of like a. I always thought the Mad Unity record was a pseudonym for one of the. One of those people like on the library scene. I remember that being the case. It's been about 5 years since I've heard the album though. Yeah, and other credits from the era. Oh well, that bio pretty much describes it. I wonder if we're going to get to hear that female again. I can't remember. Okay, I guess she can also be heard on the Funky Tramway album. Yeah, and also sings on at least one track on Kandahar's In the Court of Katharina Squeezer album. Yeah, I had that on just this week. I had on one of my M3. I had on an M3U8 playlist for mid-70s Belgian artists, like all my Belgian albums from like 1974 to 1978 on a single playlist. Yeah, and I heard both their albums just in the last few days. I love that kind of just lazy, kind of falling back, kind of windy vibe. It's just things, the looseness of that playing, and yet so thematic as well, because this has been quite a structured. This piece has really run the gamut between kind of surreal, loose moments and thematic cohesiveness, and I like that mixture. It's been both. So it's both hummable and yet experimental at once. Oh, every fade note counts, with a drizzle here and a drizzle there, one with each hands, that final kind of simmery, fade out of the trumpet and those, let's just say, erotic vocals. Yes, that was Koen De Bruyne with the track Pathetic Dreams from his 1974 Vogue release, Here Comes the Crazy Man. Yes, one of many great jazz rock recordings from the mid-70s Belgian scene, a really fruitful time in Benelux music and the continent as a whole, and in the cross-pollination of jazz, rock, funk, and symphonic elements around the world, pretty much in all corners of the planet. Yes. For more rubies and sapphires from this very ruby-packed album, actually one of the finest European releases of the year, I'll say. See the directory of albums by Belgian artists linked in the description below for red hot tracks and purples from, well, a lot of the bands I ended up mentioning during this sequence, including the albums by Placebo, Mark Moulin, the Mad Unity album, and, you know, other like-minded acts like Koss, Axac Mobile, and such. Yeah, Abraxas, Hoolvern, and onwards to like Universe Zero, Present, and such. Yeah. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, share this video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the track we just heard, the layers, the nuances, the instrumentation, the solos by each distinct player, the way it all converged and coalesced and such. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled Trimaximist, signing off.